Hey, this is Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter. In this video we're going to tie a bead thorax Baetis. So we've got a Hanak 500 BL with a silver tungsten bead in the vise, and we're going to leave ourselves plenty of room because the bead is going to end up being hidden under the thorax of this fly. So we just kind of have to account for that as we tie. I'm going to start my thread behind the bead a little ways. There we go. And then trim off our excess. I'm going to go down just below the bend a little bit and tie in our tails, which are going to be Coq de Leon. And you could use medium Pardo like I'm doing here, or you can use the Badger dyed olive if you want to match the color scheme of the body, which is going to be olive. Those secured. Go back to our tie-in point. You can trim off our excess there. I'm going to take a Canadian Goose Biot quill from Nature Spirit in olive. You can tie this fly in other colors too. And tie that in. And I want to tie it in so that the kind of thicker ribbed edge is up. That way when I start to wrap it, what I'll get is a clean edge at the back. So I'm just going to advance my thread up to about there, and then to start making my wraps you should see just a nice line, but not a raised edge from that quill. And you can use hackle pliers, or I just do kind of a wrap and trap with my left finger until I get where I want, which is maybe one more wrap here. Then when I tie that off, just kind of bring this biot forward. Tie that off. You get some nice segmentation there and realism. So once that's trimmed off, we're going to just kind of judge that our bead's going to be somewhere in there. We need to leave ourselves plenty of room at the front of the hook. Now for the wing case, what I like to do is this feather has two parts. So I'm using the biots from the top edge, and then you've got the rest of the feather that a lot of times doesn't get used. So on the bottom end of the feather, I'm going to take one of those. You'll see that towards the bottom of that quill there's kind of a nice flat wide spot, and I'm going to use that for my wing case. I'm just going to get my piece ready by trimming it to length. I'm going to tie that in with a nice kind of loose trapping wrap. Oh, cut that one way too short. Grab one more of these. Give myself a lot more room to work with than that. Okay, then we should be ready to pull that over the back. Before we get our thread in front of the bead, I'm going to take a small amount of Nature Spirit hair mask dubbing, and this is olive. Just kind of go in the theme of the fly, and that is just going to fill up that cavity a little bit behind the bead. I have a couple options here. You could tie off and then tie your bead or tie your thread back on, or you can push the bead back and just sneak your thread over the top and then pull back. Kind of make sure you got that bead nice and and far back and kind of held in place with your thread. Before we pull this wing case over, we're going to put in some legs, and you can use whatever you want for legs. I'm going to use a little olive hen saddle. You could use olive partridge. This is a grizzly olive hen feather. Like I said, whatever soft tackle, or I've even used some strands of fluorofiber, but I really like the way this hen saddle looks. So what I'm going to do is just get myself a little clump of legs. I cut out the tip of the feather, little clump of legs, kind of get a couple more there so they're nice and even. And then I'm going to take that and just put it in front of the bead like this. And then do a nice trapping wrap there. And then we can pull our wing case over, tie that down. Make sure that's nice and snug. And what I've been doing to finish this fly is I could cut out that and cut off both of them like that, but what I've been doing is just kind of bundling all those forward right up to the eye, and then going back just a little ways, taking all of that, grabbing it, making sure it's pretty compact, and just folding it back, tying it down, and then trimming them out. Just make sure everything's nice and secure. It's not going to slip out when you're fishing it. Trim out the remainder of that little biot there. And then we can just build a little bit more of a head there. Straighten out our legs. And now we'll take a whip finisher. Do our whip finish. And the way I'll finish this fly, you can fish it just like that, but what I think really adds some pop to this fly is if you take a little UV resin. I'm going to use some solar res thin. Just get a little bit on the end of your bodkin. Fill out the wing case a little bit, and then do the same thing with you don't need very much for this part. I'm going to put a little bit on the back of the abdomen here. You'll just see those segments really pop a lot more that way. And we'll go ahead and just hit that with our UV light. What I think is cool about using that biot for the wing case too is you almost get the little black lines of the wing case on either side of the wing case like a natural would have. You can see that little dark stripe there on either side, which just really pops nicely. So that's a cool, realistic little Baetis nymph that uses mostly natural materials and hides that bead in the thorax using this Hanak hook, or there's some similar fire hole sticks that are really similar to this that would work well too. But that's been a really good fly for me. You can tie it 14, 16, 18, 20. And you can change the colors of this pretty easily depending on the colors of biots you can use for it, and tie a PMD nymph or You know, experiment with some brighter colors too. But for my water, for Baetis fishing, this is a killer little pattern. So make sure to tie some of those up. Again, I'm Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter. Thanks for watching.